Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of GeekVerse podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Field. Today, I'm getting back into the world of Star Wars, continuing on with the Bad Batch Season 2 review, episodes 3 to 6 for this episode. Before we get into our spoilers thoughts of those episodes, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base, GeekVerseCast is our Twitter, and GeekVerse is our Facebook. Be sure to check us out on Facebook because getting my notions confused. Be sure to check us out on the Facebook because you can get updates there and on Twitter. But we're also on Patreon where you can get ad-free, exclusive, early episode content. There we go. We're back in it. So check us out on the Patreon. Also, a big shout out. There's a little banner here. Where's the little banner? Thank you to our Patreon producers, Aaron Braden, April Darkness, Joshua Wright. You folks are fantastic. You keep the lights on, and we appreciate it. We have so much popping off on the Geekverse right now. There's a plethora of hours worth of content. The X-Men retrospective, the John Wick retrospective, available on our Patreon. Additionally, this week we have another big recording session that's going to be popping off. We're getting the season 2 of the X-Men retrospective, finishing off our John Wick with John Wick 3, and then we're getting into Evil Dead. We're starting that retro. It's going to be a good time. That's all going to be available early on our Patreon. We did our Golden Geeks not too long ago. The voting will commence soon for our Patreon subscribers. I don't have an exact date, but it should be coming up in the coming weeks. On top of all that, yeah, just tune into our social media feeds. You can see a ton of stuff that we're getting into. We did the DC slate reveal from James Gunn the other day. That was a really, really good cast, a good discussion there. And yeah, SideQuest is popping off. I was with Dylan doing an Xbox Developer Direct SideQuest breakdown. And I think next week we have Travis and Dylan going back into Midnight Suns. So there is something for everyone going on. Last of Us reviews as well every Sunday. Like, it's just an absolute good time. So let's transition now to Star Wars. Now, I did episodes 1 and 2. You can go back, and I'm holding my ground here, where it's like, okay, 4 episodes. Let's compile them together, talk about everything, and then just kind of like move on. Then like 4 episodes and yada 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 throughout this season 2. These 4 episodes, I felt like, okay, we got a lot of filler thrown in here, some Clone Wars themed filler episodes, but it's kind of like a sandwich. When I look back at what we got, I'd say episode 3 was fantastic. Probably one of the best like Star Wars like animated episodes that I've ever seen in my life. It was fantastic. Episode 4 and 5 were definitely the filler ones. And then episode 6, oh, that just dropped today. So that was like chef's kiss. Episode 6 was incredible. It had me in tears. Absolutely loved it. So if you haven't seen these episodes, I highly recommend you go back, watch them, then you can come back and join the discussion because there's some good stuff that we're going to break down. So episode 3, 3, 2, 1, we're getting the spoilers. Episode 3, The Solitary Clone. I'm going to read the synopsis here just for people to kind of get refreshed because it's been a good minute. Crosshair is assigned to Commander Cody on a mission to the former Separatist planet D6 to rescue Imperial Governor Groton, who has been captured and taken hostage. After a successful assault, they encounter D6 Governor Tawny MS, who demands D6 remain out of Imperial jurisdiction, citing the Republic's refusal to broker peace with the Separatists during the Clone Wars as reasoning. Cody argues for a peaceful resolution, but Crosshair kills MS on Groton's orders, and D6 is brought under Imperial control. Returning to Coruscant, Cody questions whether the Empire is really doing good around the galaxy, and deserts soon after. This is a very in-depth actual breakdown, but that's okay. We're in spoilers. The episode was incredible, and I remember when people were talking about this when it dropped, posting the scene of when Crosshair first meet with Cody, and Cody is just devoid of colors. He's got the unique armor style and aesthetic, which I love, but yeah, devoid of colors, and it just feels like they're testing each other in the way that they're having this conversation, and I really appreciate how they pulled that off. Just not even necessarily like testing each other's limits, but I mean testing each other on how they're breaking, not even their breaking point, testing each other on how they are going to what is the key word here? Abandon ship, I guess is what I'm trying to say. you can't trust every single clone because some are going to be totally committed to this cause, as is their programming, you could say, their chips implanted in them. And Crosshair has his chip gone, but he's still very much in, I won't say in love, but committed to this cause. Now, when we saw Cody at first in Revenge of the Sith, very committed, we got to know more of his character and how he was very much well, everything Obi-Wan was trickled down into Commander Cody very well, and Commander Cody reflected how Obi-Wan was as a leader and by the book, executing all this kind of stuff, and that paved the way for him, like, oh, Order 66, not even a bat an eye at this, blast him, as he says. So to see Cody in this position of regret in trying to change things, I really like, and not necessarily being like, oh, we're gonna like kill you, do this, that, but just being in this position of, hey, let's try and propose a peaceful step forward. And now we know, obviously, clones are extremely expendable now, as we saw in the first couple episodes, where one clone commander was killed. So I was afraid Cody was gonna die, but seeing how well Cody and Crosshair kind of got along really jived well with me. It was such a shame, though, that Crosshair, just he's still going on and on with this, and I think it's such a shame that we can't turn him yet. I'm sure they're saving that turn for later on. This is just one of those pillars leading and paving the way for him making that transition to the good side, hopefully, or he's going to die a villain, but we'll have to see. So when Cody abandoned ship and defects, I love that. It caught me off guard, and I just can imagine the amount of regret, maybe not regret on actually executing Order 66, but maybe just regret on what the Republic has turned into, having a hand in helping this. And I just feel more and more sad for the clones. The clones are really just the short end of the stick and the shitty deal of the Republic Imperial transition. So all in all, the episode was incredible because we got a little bit of that Clone Wars vibe again. We got the droids, the separatists, and this time the droids felt like the liberators. They felt like the heroes. And you just have the Empire coming in, doing all this stuff, just taking them down, easy peasy. We got the droidicas, we got the assassin droids, and we got your classic B1 battle droids. No super battle droids or anything like that, which is totally fine. But yeah, it was very powerful, and you really feel for what was the character's name? The separatist governor, Tawny. Yeah, the Six's governor, Tawny MS. So it was, you really just, your heart pours out for her, and just to see like where we're at now, where a clone who was just against the separatists is listening to this former separatist leader, and was just kind of sympathizing and trying to find a non-violent resolution. It was heavy, and the score is next level, incredible. Yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. Absolutely love this episode. And I thought we were going to kind of keep at this pace, but as we move to episode 4, called Faster, and I quote, while Hunter and Echo are away on another assignment, Sid takes Omega, Tech, and Rekka to a riot race on Safatoma to visit her cocky droid racer, Teo. What a name. Sid is challenged by Malegi, one of her business rivals, and his racer, Jet Venom. During the next round, Malegi orders Venom to cheat, causing Teo to lose. When Malegi comes to collect, Omega challenges him to another race for Sid's freedom. But just before the event, Teo is wrecked in an accident. Tech takes Teo's place as Sid's pilot, and using his calculative intellect to offset his lack of experience, he wins the race. Malegi honors his part of the deal, but warns the clones that one day Sid may turn against them. As far as filler goes, this one was a lot of fun. It had it had pod racing written all over it, and I definitely really enjoyed that thoroughly. Out of the Bad Batch, Tech is definitely my favorite. He's rising up the ranks to be just one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I'm really enjoying him. I'd love to see a live action Tech so badly, but yeah, his kind of bickering with Teo, and Teo was so annoying. Oh my goodness gracious. But yeah, just seeing Sid just kind of make these bets and stuff like that, it's classic Sid character, but she's so lucky that the crew is able to get her out of this situation. Malegi, very cool to see that same alien species that we've seen before in Force Awakens, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, actually, one of the Inquisitors. I can't remember what her designation was, but yeah, just it's neat that they're kind of giving more light to this new Star Wars alien species. But yeah, overall the episode, like pod racing, and the description says that Jet Venom cheats. I don't consider Jet Venom cheating. They literally state that there's no rules in this race. It's whatever goes. So I applaud tech on just kind of calculating and figuring out the way to kind of overcome this, and totally it just blows it out of the water. Really enjoyed that. But other than that, there's not necessarily a lot to really talk about on this episode, aside from possibly the foreshadowing of Sid maybe turning against them. So I'm wondering what that insinuates, and if we're gonna get her maybe selling them out to the Empire or something like that. Who knows? But I'm sure it'll be very interesting. Uh, it depends how many seasons more we get of this too. I mean, if they do a season 3, which I'm anticipating, I'm sure we'll still be with Sid. I don't think the show's going to go off to like 7 seasons like the Clone Wars did, but I could see it maybe doing like a 4 to 5 seasons, and maybe pumping the brakes down in like season 5. Whether or not Sid is their ally throughout all of that, I don't know. But I do probably stand on that island of, hey, we're going to get Sid betraying them and just kind of have them on the run for a little bit in that regard. So this would probably be a foreshadow. Before I move on, I'm going to jump to a quick ad break, and we'll be right back. And we are back. So, our next episode, episode 5, is called Entombed. Now, and I quote, while searching a junkyard for a useful salvage, Omega and Rekka find an ancient compass containing a set of coordinates toward the uncharted Kaldar trinary that carry the promise of treasure. Fi, Genoa, and Omega persuade the Bad Batch to set out for the system, where the compass leads them to Skara Nal, the resting place of a legendary crystal, the heart of the mountain. They find the stone, but upon removing it, Skara Nal is revealed as an ancient doomsday mech, which begins running amok. The Bad Batch and Genoa manage to return the crystal, which deactivates and destroys the machine. I am a big fan of Indiana Jones and these types of like treasure hunting things, like National Treasure as well. Oh my goodness, it's incredible. So to have that in Star Wars, I thoroughly did enjoy this filler episode. And the score, I felt like I was watching an Indiana Jones and Star Wars land kind of film. Again, I'm sure they probably have their own theories as to that kind of crossover, because certain Indiana Jones items have bled over into Star Wars and vice versa, but I digress. This episode was just incredible with that score. Absolutely praise it. It was fantastic. And I love the mystery and the spookiness of going in the heart of the mountain. I felt like Lord of the Rings going into like, the Dead City and Return of the King or something like that. But it was just fantastic. I loved exploring this. It had a Fallen Order vibe to it, as it should, because I believe that was Zepho technology, if I'm getting that correct. Very old stuff. I was hoping that it was going to be an ancient Jedi temple, just to kind of scratch that itch of Jedi-ness in here, and just it would have been cool to kind of see the clone or the Bad Batch kind of engage in this. But I understand I got my Jedi itch scratched in the next episode. But overall, great episode. I thought it was super cool. And I like that they were able to stop this giant mech and like destroy it with the super advanced technology diamond that they found. And yeah, I think that Fi Noah is an interesting character. I don't know if she's no Hondo Naka. Like, Hondo, I don't think he's on the next level of his own. And I think that she was maybe going for something in her own, obviously her own kind of representation of this character. But it felt to me like a looser version of, I don't want to say looser, but like a weaker version of Hondo Naka. Hondo Naka is GOAT. Can't beat him. So that being said, good episode. Our final episode for discussion. This one is so, oh my god, hits me hard. I got up early to watch this morning, and it slam dunked. I was in tears. Thought, oh man, I'm crying before work. Taylor, get your shit together. This is called The Tribe. The Bad Batch meets the Vanguard Axis for a job until Omega ends up helping Ganji, a Wookiee Jedi youngling, escape from his cartel captors. Intending to return him to his home world, the Bad Batch finds Kashyyyk being ravaged by a group of Trandoshan mercenaries working for the Empire. After winning a local tribe's trust, the clones join the Wookiees and the indigenous wildlife in their fight against their Imperial opponents. The aggressors are eventually defeated, and Ganji is reunited with his people. Holy smokes. So I knew Ganji, I'm sure we all knew Ganji was in this because we could see the trailers and they showcased him there. I was not expecting in this episode where they were like, Omega hears some stuff, commotion on this station, runs off, and you see Genji being like shocked by these droids, and she immediately goes to save him, and it just escalates more and more from there because then that scene when Genji locks eyes with his lightsaber and uses the Force and he activates it. Oh my god, I was so pumped. I was like fist pump in the air, like, let's go. This is fantastic. Oh, it had me so energized. Oh, and just the look on the clones too, like their face, like every side mission that occurs, I feel like aside from Wrecker, most of the clones in Bad Batch are always like, oh, like we got to do this, and especially in last week's episode Entombed, you have Hunter, who did not want to go ahead and pursue this. Like he just thought, okay, no, let's not bother with this at all. Like it's just beeswax and all that kind of jazz. So I find it fascinating and super awesome. Well, yeah, awesome how this Jedi appears and they don't even bat an eye. They immediately just say, "Okay, we're gonna free him and get him out of here." Jedi aside, he's a kid, and I love that was like the first thing to do what's right. But I also took it mostly as they understand what they. I mean, they weren't a part of it, but they in general, their people, the clones, did. And it just was like, oh, let's get him out of here. This is top priority immediately. And this is it's so nice because you didn't see anything from Hunter, any of the clones, so just any regret or anything like that, any worry, any cause of concern for themselves. It was just priority number one. We need to get him out of here. It's the right thing to do. And I love that. Oh, it was great. It was so good. So they get him on the ship. Gunji obviously has a lot of hesitation to get on the Bad Batch's ship. I don't blame him. And I really, just the whole dialogue scene of Gunji just sitting by himself. Oh, it makes me want to tear up right now. It was so sad. Holy smokes. And I can't, like as Hunter said, like, I can't imagine what he went through being tortured and just being shipped around and just having to go through his master being killed and everything. This was just such a great execution of this, and just Gunji just looking so like roughed up and just like upset and sad, and then Omega brings him some food and a drink. I absolutely love that. And he's super apprehensive of the clones. I don't blame him, but I loved how Hunter was able to kind of convince him and bring him around a little bit and just kind of comfort him and talk about, okay, like where are we taking you? Kashyyyk, okay. And now in my head I'm thinking Kashyyyk, well shit, we've all played Force Awakens, we've all played Battlefront 2, Galactic Conquest. We've played all these different things like Star Wars Fallen Order, so we know Kashyyyk is definitely not in a ideal position right now. It's under Imperial occupation, and they mentioned that. So to actually go back to Kashyyyk though in a more of a cinematic experience like this in the show, it was just incredible. I loved it. And yeah, sure enough, we go there, and I thought, okay, we're gonna have a lot of imps here, but they totally changed that around, and they did it in such a fantastic way because I wasn't expecting Trandoshans. I thought for the most part Sid was the only real Trandoshan we're gonna get in this show. Sure as shit, I was wrong because we got this group of Trandoshans that were being paid off by the Empire to go out, wreak havoc, hunt for Wookiees, and just yeah, like getting the slave trade going on. I couldn't believe it. And I thought it was really cool to kind of give that spotlight back onto the Trandoshans because they're such a relevant race ever since we got Bosk in Empire Strikes Back. So I just think they're very intriguing. And Sid is definitely the nicest of the Trandoshans so far that I have ever seen, because a lot of them are pretty nasty, particularly the ones in Republic Commandos if you played that game. But yeah, I think that it was very, very potent. And when we got the leader of the Trandoshans there kind of just cornered off by Ganji at one point, to build context, there were these spider creatures, which I don't believe were in Fallen Order because I was not familiar with them. But if you attack them, then it provokes them and then they'll come after you. And so this guy, the Trandoshan leader, had his flamethrower. He's flailing about like no tomorrow. And Ganji basically just sheaths his lightsaber, and he has this look on his face, and I appreciate the the Nolan Batman thing, like, I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you, or whatever it is like that. Uh, that was basically what Ganji instilled here in this moment. And he just deactivated his saber, and he had this just solid, um, not potent, but smoldering. That's the one. Smoldering look of intensity on his face as this guy's being like taken up in the webbing by these alien creatures and pulled up into the trees. I just loved it. It was smoldering intensity from Ganji. Wookiees are precious. Jedi Wookiees are even more exceptionally precious. You got to protect them. But Ganji was reunited with his people. I love that. And I just worry that the people are going to be found out and they're going to be like attacked or whatnot. So hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, it was just overall, it was an incredible episode. The one con I have is I feel like after their first initial squabble with a few of the Trandoshians, and they were using old droid tanks, they didn't make an attempt to hide Ganji's lightsaber marks on the tanks, and that's what kind of gave them away, because when the clones saw it, like, oh, these are lightsaber marks, Jedi. And the Trandoshan's like, oh, Jedi. And then the clone trooper's like, oh, we better call this into like Imperial Command, because then obviously, what do you call them? Inquisitors are going to pop in, maybe Darth Vader if he feels so obliged. But they didn't. As far as I can tell, the clones did not call it up to high command. They actually let this Trandoshan give them orders, and the Trandoshan's like, I'm not if I get to him first. So I don't know how that's going to work out, because I feel like the clones programming, like, they would have called it in. They absolutely would have. It's like serious, serious business. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. They're all dead now, so there's that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Those are the next 4 episodes. So what do we have next? We have the Clone Conspiracy, episode 7, Truth and Consequences, episode 8, The Crossing, episode 9, and Retrieval, episode 10. So I'll be back probably February 22nd is when I'll return with the next 4 episodes. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have another 4 episodes after that. So I'll be back again on the March 22nd after there. And then again, March 29th. It looks like there's 2 more, probably the finale and all that jazz. So there you go. There's a little insider look. I hope you enjoyed this review of these 4 episodes. I already want to go back and rewatch them. They are just incredible. Absolutely incredible. The Bad Batch is continually blowing my mind. It is a fantastic show to carry on what the Clone Wars has set up. And it just looks great. The art style is absolutely incredible. Absolutely beautiful. So until next time, everyone, I am Taylor. We'll see you in the search bar. Have a good one.